Sounds good to me. Are you all good to go, Bri?
Yeah,
Perfect.
let's do it.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'll go ahead and get us started. Firstly, thank you so much to everyone that's tuning in today. We have a really great customer spotlight series ahead for you. If you do have any questions, any comments, anything at all, please do feel free to drop that straight into our chat or into the Q&A box, and we'll make sure to address some of those questions and comments throughout the session. Just to introduce myself, my name is Mel, and I am a customer success manager for EdApp based in Sydney. And I'm joined by Bri and Sophie.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Bri, and I lead our customer success teams globally at EdApp. And yeah, really excited to have Sophie with us here today from Bayer. Sophie, can you give us a quick intro on you and your role at Bayer?
Yeah, so I'm one of the commercial learning managers. I work part-time and I look after the specialty medicine division, which is largely oncology and ophthalmology. And unofficially, I'm the digital learning lead, which basically means I have the expertise and talent in terms of bringing digital learning programs to life and thinking how you can integrate digital learning into your learning ecosystem or your learning mix. So yeah,
Amazing.
that's me.
And I've had the pleasure of working with you for almost a couple of years now. So yeah, really excited to have you on today. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And I have the pleasure also of asking you probably the most important question for today. And that is, what, if you had to choose, is your favorite karaoke song?
Oh, favorite karaoke song. Probably Queen's We Will Rock You.
Oh, that's a good one. It's a classic.
Yeah, it is a classic.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with a classic, right?
Yeah. I'd probably, if it were me, I'd probably choose something a bit funky like Earth, Wind and Fire, September, another classic, I feel.
Yeah, indeed.
Belle, what would yours be?
Mine would probably be Take It Easy by the Eagles. I think for the same reason. It's upbeat, it's happy. Even if you have a bad voice, you can still get the crowd excited. So we'll go with that.
Purple Rain, Simon, love it. Cool.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, so for today's Customer Spotlight series, we will be going through how Bayer uses EdApp to drive engagement. And I'm sure most of you might be familiar with the name Bayer, but they are one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. For Australia and New Zealand, they have more than 900 employees. And they began using EdApp for a few reasons, mainly to firstly make mandatory training more accessible and more engaging. Secondly, to create a culture of learning, which is also important. And also to diversify their training amongst different audiences, which again, I think we can all agree is really key. And for them, that was specifically their sales and medical teams. So without further ado, we can go ahead and jump in and get started. Again, if you have any questions for Sophie, please feel free to drop them into the chat. And I'll just go ahead and end my screen share. Cool. So Sophie, I know that Bayer's been using EdApp for, I think, roughly about 18 months, going on 2 years, but we do want to start and take it back to your initial launch phase. So for us, we wanted to know, are there any initial or unique challenges that you were trying to solve when you originally took on EdApp?
Yeah, so we had this real culture of sort of, I call it learned helplessness. It was learning is something that's done to me, or I have to just grit my teeth and get through because it's mandatory. There wasn't a culture of learning is something that's going to help me do better in my job, so I'm going to invest time and energy into doing it. And we saw EdApp as a way of not making learning fun, because you can't make it fun, but making it more engaging and interactive, and something that was, oh, that was easy and I learned something from it and it wasn't onerous. And so that's why we decided to go with EdApp.
Fantastic. And when you did your initial rollout, was there a specific maybe pilot group that you focused on for that initial rollout? Can you just walk us through that?
Yes. Yeah, so the first group we did was, we call them the PLT, they're the leadership team, and they had some goals that sat around digital literacy and digital transformation, which we created a series of courses and lessons within EdApp and rolled it out with them. And literally we were in the room with them, holding their hand, talking them through how to download the app, how to put their password in, you know, click here, oh, you're done, well done, yay, that sort of thing. It was real sort of letting them explore and get familiar, but in a way where they weren't on their own trying to navigate it. And from there, once we got their buy-in, we then looked at the individual people manager groups and did basically the same thing with them, hand-holding, getting them familiar, letting them troubleshoot and get the bugs right and get their buy-in. So then we could roll it out with all the other teams, their people.
Yeah. And that's a really great, I guess, takeaway, isn't it? Is really having that concentrated first group, you know, when you have your initial launch, and building trust with your leadership teams. And having those internal champions is really key, isn't it, when you've got a new system that you want to implement. So
yeah, and being a German company, we're conservative, right? We don't like change. It's hard. So if we could lower any barriers to change, that was going to be a good thing. And that's why we decided to invest that time up front to get that trust and get that buy-in.
Yeah, great. Sorry, Mel, did you?
No, I was just going to chime in. I think, creating trust with the group as important as your leadership team, especially when you're rolling out a new platform, a new product. I think that's incredibly important. So I like that. Cool. And I know that we mentioned the rollout in the last 18 months has been to diverse teams. So you have your sales, you have medical, you have multiple, leadership teams that are all involved. What has that experience been like across so many different teams?
A word I would use is patchy. It depended a lot on the manager buy-in, but also how much freedom we were allowed to create solutions and to use our subject matter experts to, and what level the manager was willing to advocate for us to use EdApp. So yeah, patchy would be the word. But once they gave it a go, the learner feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Just yesterday, I had a senior leader come to me and say, because we've just rolled out a program, and she came to me and said, that EdApp was fantastic. And the scratchy thing, I love the scratchy thing. It was fab. Okay.
Yeah, I love the technical terms used for that. But I mean, that's amazing feedback, isn't it? So, and then, yeah, I guess from the learners' side of things, what was the feedback from them?
Yeah. As with anything, there's kind of an adoption curve. So you had some people, and I was surprised by how many there were. I thought it would be like the sort of 2 to 5%, but I think it was more closer to sort of maybe 10 or 15% who were, oh, this was fantastic. I didn't feel like it was onerous. It was quick. I was able to do it while I was waiting for my coffee in the coffee shop. Those sort of feedback. And then you have the ones who couldn't log in, who needed a little bit more hand holding, and often it was the user typing in the wrong password or downloading the wrong app or those sort of things. But once they got on and used it, the feedback was, like I said, I was surprised by how many people actually took the time to feedback that the experience was good, because normally you send these things out and you don't get much feedback or any. You tend to hear about when it doesn't work as opposed to when it does work. So yeah.
Yeah, so I guess just taking a bit of time initially, and even though it did perhaps take a bit longer, and you really had to invest your time into this and holding people's hands initially, it sounds like it had some gain, and now you've got the feedback that people are coming to you wanting to implement it and use it in different scenarios.
Yeah. I think I said it to you guys earlier in the week that I've had a manager come to me and say, you use the refresh thingy in the other team. We want it in our team. So what can we do to do the refresh thingy? He meant the rapid refresh.
I love it. That's what we want to hear. We want others to be jealous of what the other teams have and get it rolled out. That's awesome.
So just coming back to like the time of investment that you said, so I know you're an L&D expert, Sophie. I know you've been in the field for years now, really. How would you, I guess, compare that initial ramp up phase with perhaps other systems that you've used at other organizations or at Bayer?
The uptake has been quick when I compare it to others. So within Bayer, we have other LMSs that we use. EdApp is part of our ecosystem. So one we use, it's a online LMS, and we rolled that out in 2017, and it's just not getting traction. I mean, we've got one medical manager who loves using it and who always wants to use it. But it's when you suggest it, you can almost hear the eye rolls. Whereas you say, oh, how about we do an EdApp for this? And they go 9 times out of 10 now, sort of 2 years after rolling it out and the investment of time and energy up front, we're now getting people go, yeah, let's do an EdApp. So yeah, 2017, still not getting anywhere with this one LMS. EdApp, we're 2 years in and we're getting people asking us. So I'd say it's worth the investment up front. Was it annoying at the time? Yes, but we're seeing the results now with people wanting to use it and being engaged when they're using it. So
yeah, that's amazing.
And then on that note of having multiple systems, whether they are, an LMS, it could be an HR system, all of these systems together, I think we use the term technology fatigue. It's common for a lot of staff, and I know with a lot of our customers too that are, handling multiple platforms at once. What would your advice be to other companies that are experiencing something like technology fatigue with their staff?
Get manager buy-in if you can. Get some advocates who enjoy using it and use design thinking. So I'd be in a meeting so you'd have your subject matter experts, you'd have your senior leadership, and looking at this problem that's of course multifaceted. Learning or training is just one component that's going to fit in along with comms or coaching or whatever, and just saying to them at the end of the day, who is the end user and what are they going to want, and then thinking about the tools that you have in your toolkit that can then help. So for example, if you've got a sales team, leaderboards are going to be great to generate a bit of competition, and name drop. I'd often name drop and say, such and such manager really found that the leaderboard helped with engagement, and we had this feedback. And then senior leaders are like, okay, so it's not just Sophie saying it, it's other people in the business. But also saying things like, look, if this falls over, you can blame me. I'll take the flack. And then they know that you've got skin in the game and that if this falls over, it's going to fall on you. So those sort of things that I'm going off on tangents, so I apologize. I do this. Pull me back in if I'm going in.
That's so interesting, isn't it? Because it really, ultimately, what you're saying there is that you're putting yourself in the shoes of the end user, and like, what is it that makes them tick, and then using those as tactics, I guess, to win them over and engage them. I think they're really great points. Interesting.
And on that note as well, when we are coming across learner hesitation, are there any other tactics or anything that you do to help overcome learner hesitation?
A lot of hand holding. They need to experience it in order to go, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Also giving them the why or the what's in it for them, that always is a benefit to you. So initially, when I'd be presenting EdApp to our sales reps, I'd say something along the lines of, look, this is going to take you 2 to 5 minutes. Order your coffee, open up the app and do it while you're waiting for your coffee, and then it's done for the day and you're done. And that seemed to resonate with them. And then, you'd follow it up with an email saying, here's the leaderboard, look at who's on top. Or you'd do the QR codes and the links in an email to them with the leaderboard, or, just lots of those touch points along the way, to sort of lower those barriers and remind them people are busy. They've got so much on. Often they want to do it, they've just forgotten to do it because they've got their day job to do. And if you can remove as many of those barriers as possible, and then especially salespeople, if you can incentivize them with a bit of competition, they're going to be more likely to engage with whatever you're doing, and especially if it's easy and it's quick and it fits into their flow of work. It's just those sort of tips and tricks help.
And tell us a bit, because I remember the other day you told us about that obsession with their scores and leaderboards. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, I had one of the reps call me and say, I've got a problem about the course that you just rolled out, Sophie. And I was thinking, oh no, what's happened? It asked me to upload a sales aid. And because I didn't have the sales aid ready to upload, it affected my score, because you said there was a time component in the score. And so I'm a 5 on the leaderboard, where I feel that I should really be in the top 3. And we investigated a bit further, and it turned out it wasn't the rapid refresh component of the learning program that he was talking about. It was actually a course that we'd added into the mix after the rapid refresh. So yeah, that made me chuckle.
It is. It's funny, isn't it? And that, that obsession, with the scores and leaderboards and things like that is something that Mel and I, we hear a lot from our other customers as well. But it's a really good sign ultimately that, they've got a connection with the learning material that's being shared, and they're actually, engaging and wanting to go in and learn more. So yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I think especially for sales team, as you said, I mean, it's a competitive bunch, very number driven, always wanting incentives and rewards, and to be able to see how they're performing. So I think, leaderboards are a great example of that. For a team like a sales team. Yeah.
No, and EdApp's great in that you can shape your content depending on the audience. So for our sales team leaderboards we've spoken about, but for our medical teams, they like the detail. And so having the the briefcase that you can add documents into that they can consume at their leisure, they love that, because they're a detailed bunch. That's why they're medical people. And so you're able to like when you've got sort of the broad across the organization learning programs, you can have the quick bits for like the salespeople and the marketing people who want it to be quick, top line, what do I need to know? What do I need to do? But then you can give your medical people and your regulatory people the depth of knowledge that they're going to want. And I may have taken us down another tangent. Sorry, I do that.
I've actually spotted the Q&A, and we've had a few questions come through from the audience, which is always good. So we've got a question here from Robert, who's asking, what other systems are in use? What was EdApp's advantage?
Yep. So at Bayer, we have a number. We have a SAP Success Factors, which is our HR. It's sort of mainly HR focused stuff and real like government mandatory content. And we've got our online LMS is Brainshark. And then some countries use QStream. All sorts of things depending on what part of the world you're in. We liked EdApp because you could chunk content down while providing detail with the briefcase for those topics that needed the detail. And it was a mobile based, so people could do it wherever they were in the flow of their workplace. If they've got some downtime, they're able to do it quickly and get their learning done in their flow of work. So it's not something that's, because we had a real problem with learning being perceived as onerous and something that was done to them. So EdApp allowed us to be a bit more in the flow of work, which helps, hugely helps.
Yeah, and you mentioned the briefcase just then. I know, Sophie, you said the other day how you had that aha moment, when you'd first launched the program, maybe a few months in, a year in or so. And there was this pivotal moment that I think is linked to how you use that briefcase for the medical teams. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so we were rolling out, process for capturing medical inquiries from our healthcare professionals had changed. We streamlined it to make the process much easier. And so in the EdApp, in the course, we did quite top line. This is why the process changed. This is how it's going to benefit you. And very quickly, this is how you do it. And we had a lot of pushback from our medical colleagues going, there's not enough detail. My screen looks different to the screens that are in the EdApp. I can't make the pictures big enough, blah, 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 blah. So we were able to attach a how-to guide that was really detailed into the briefcase, which ticked the box for those detailed people, which in case you can tell, that's not me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I hear quite a bit of that as well with a couple customers that, especially coming on, sometimes a common concern is that our content is so important, especially if it is, pharma medical related. How can I even bring that into micro learning? And that's a good example of Briefcase being able to do that and, keep your micro courses focused on the key points, but you can still have your full documents and Briefcase items attached as part of that course. So really good to hear. And I guess on that note, with the content and what you are using to train on EdApp, what is the process for bringing that training into EdApp? Is it something that you've been creating yourself with the authoring tool? Have you had any support on that end? Can you just walk us through the content side?
So all of the above. We get a lot of documents from our global learning team that are already pre-done and approved, because everything that we do has to be approved. It's we're highly regulated industry. So we take, and often they're in the form of PowerPoint slides, which is super easy in EdApp to convert. There's the PowerPoint adapter function, but also just having the PowerPoints, it's easy to create images and copy paste words into the authoring tool to create courses. We've also were lucky enough that you guys created some bundles for us that the managers use. It's kind of like a bank of sales specific topics that they can use when they're coaching or preparing for a state meeting, that they can just pull on when they need it, if they need it. So yeah, we've done I think that was 3 options, all 3 options, and we've had great.
Yeah,
it's been great.
and those, I remember those courses. Yeah, they're all available in the course library. So for anyone that does, work in the pharma industry, yeah, you can find those courses. I think there's one on closing a sale, being assertive, also all around those soft skills that they can, easily dip in and out of. Sophie, yeah, so that's really great.
And when you are releasing something like new product information, what are the different ways that you're getting your learners and your staff up to speed on those new products?
Yep. So we use EdApp as either so normally a lot of our stuff is workshop based, but we use EdApp as either a knowledge transfer piece before a workshop. So people come to the workshop already preloaded with knowledge. So it saves time when we get together. It's much more collaborative and workshopy rather than didactic. But we also use EdApp afterwards as a reminder and as a follow-up to really embed whatever the knowledge or the skills or the concepts that were covered in the workshop. So that's where we fit EdApp into the mix. Did I answer your question? Maybe not. What was the question again?
Mainly how you get your staff and your learners up to speed on new product information. So so maybe anything that comes as a follow-up after these workshops that you're in EdApp.
Yeah. And we also use the rapid refresh. So we've currently got a new indication that we'll be launching sometime in the next sort of 3 months. It depends when we get TGA approval. And so we're preloading the reps with disease state, with the clinical trial data. We're preloading the reps with that. Obviously saying, don't talk to your healthcare professionals because we're not allowed to until we've got TGA approval, obviously. But sort of saying, here are a few nuggets to think about along the way so that when we get TGA approval, we can hit the ground running and really take off because they're ready to go. That's another way we've been using EdApp to in that product update space.
Yeah, so what we're hearing really is that, with EdApp, you're kind of adding it on to all of these systems or any interactions that might be happening in a workshop environment or in another LMS, for example, that still serves its purpose, but it's kind of adding that onto the journey to transform it, diversify it, make it more a bit more engaging, rather than coming in and changing everything. I feel like that's really a key point that we're taking out of this
yeah, EdApp is complementary. I'm not going to say, sorry guys, I'm not going to say you guys have come in and you're the solution for every problem, but you complement a lot of what we were already doing and have added, sort of filled in any gaps that we might have had with what we were already doing. Definitely complementary and sort of plugging holes that we had in our ecosystem.
Absolutely. Cool. Mel, we've got another couple of questions in the Q&A here from Robert.
Yes.
We got time for those?
Yep. So one of the questions is, why did EdApp work with design thinking and end users and not the other systems? And again, what made EdApp unique in that situation?
Yeah, so it depended on the end user, Robert. So our sales teams, they're competitive. The leaderboards really helped generate that competition. There's also within EdApp, there's a slide where people can record their own responses. That it developed a bit of social learning. The discussion panels, no, not panel, discussion lessons are really good when you've got marketing colleagues who like to chew the fat. They're able to, it's kind of like a Teams channel where they, or Teams chat or a Slack chat where they can discuss and comment on each other's comments and basically chew the fat and have a discussion about marketing capability. That discussion function doesn't seem to work as well with salespeople. We've trialed it with a few teams and they just don't seem to use it. And yeah, the briefcase, the medical people just seem to enjoy having their documents in the one place in a briefcase. We also share SharePoint sites and document libraries within EdApp, which again, the medical people really enjoy. I could keep going on design thinking and end users, so like give me the signal.
Webinar dedicated to that.
Yeah.
Cool. Just another one from Robert here, asking just about that initial ramp up period, and if it's taken 2 years, I guess, to get traction, and just commenting that that's a pretty long journey.
Yeah, but worth it. Where we are now, it's worth it in hindsight.
I know we have another question. Thanks you guys for sending them in. We have a question from Simon, who is interested to know about the communication strategy that you used for learners to keep them engaged. So maybe communications around courses released to learners. You can.
Yep. So what we tend to do is we'll have a 5 or 10 minute slot in a team meeting and say, heads up guys, this is coming, this is what it is, and here are the links in the chat, or the QR code, depending on the team and whether I think they're going to use the QR code or the link, depends. Then I'll send them, me personally will send them a follow-up email saying, here's what we discussed in the meeting, here's the QR code again, here's the link again. I do the due date, so the system will send them a prompt. I also, after the first 7 days, will again use the system to send out another notification using the, help me, Brioni, what's it called? Actionable
reports, yeah.
That thing, yeah. I know where it is, I just don't know what it's called. And if it's a team where I think they'll benefit from it, I do send the leaderboards a screenshot of the leaderboard. And because my focus is sort of 80% sales reps, the leaderboard is something that's my sort of standard best practice I'll use, because it works. And there doesn't even need, the funny thing is there doesn't even need to be a prize attached to it. Just the bragging rights is enough to incentivize them to complete it and to engage with content.
So you've got automated notifications going out for courses with due dates to remind them that they've got to do those. You've also, you're sending out your own comms through actionable reports, so reaching out to people that are falling behind a little bit, just to give them a nudge. What's the reception of all of this comms? Do you get any pushback, or do they like the reminders?
So the feedback that we're getting is that the reminders are great because people are busy and that they just forget. I tend to send them out, the reminders out on a Wednesday morning. I seem to get the best hit rate when I do it Wednesday morning at sort of 9:30. I seem to get, that's when I get the best traction, the best response. And the managers love it because they're not the ones chasing. And it's not too labor intensive for me. It's, you know, one email following a team meeting, and then it's a notification or an email that I send from within the system sort of at that 2-week mark. And we're seeing completion rates of sort of for the important things, where I'm not doing that for everything. I'm doing that for the important things. And we're seeing sort of a completion rate of sort of 65 to 100%. And again, if it's mandatory, everyone's got to do it. So yeah, I'll shut up now. Sorry. I could talk all day.
That's so important. I think it's fantastic to hear that you have such a great, well thought out communications plan. Not just for launch, but also just following up, and the use of actionable reports to not only, you know, see who's progressing where with their completions, but also taking advantage of the notifications component of that report's fantastic. I know we have another question as well. Looks like it from Sherry, who's interested to know more about the initial launch. Was it company-wide? Was it several pilot groups? And how did you scale it and ensure sustainability of usage?
Yep. So our first group was our leadership team, and it was literally just them. And it was, I think I mentioned, it was hand-holding. It was very intensive. There's 8 of them. So it wasn't, while it was intensive, it wasn't too onerous because there weren't that many of them. And so once we got them on board, we then looked at the sort of the group managers, and we thought, where is this going to have the most traction? Probably our sales functions. So luckily we had a project with one of our big sales teams. We had a change to our CRM, and we did a pilot group with one of our sales teams, where again, we did an intensive period with our sales managers, and I think there's 12 of them. And we did a really intensive, we flew them into our head office, and again, we literally held their hands, downloaded the app, helped them log in, showed them the course, and literally was like standing over their shoulder as they were doing it and troubleshooting for them as they were doing it. And then got them to roll it out to their sales teams. That way didn't work. And so we learned from that. So that's where the patchiness came in. So we had some sales teams who rapidly adopted it and were hungry for more. And then we had other sales teams where the manager maybe wasn't as bought in as the other team, where there was resistance to taking it on. And so that's where we then came up with the comm strategy and the 5 to 10 minute time in a team meeting to handle those questions, and then sending those comms, and making yourself available to answer questions and to troubleshoot, and to literally sit on we use Teams, but whatever communication thing you're using, literally sit on one of them and get them to share their screen on their device, so you can tell them, yeah, see the button there that looks like this, yeah, click on that, that'll do what you and yes, it's a lot of investment, but I think where we are now, it was worth it. Because it's also part of their digital literacy, right? It's going to help them use their technology better, which again is a pillar of where we're trying to go. So it kind of ticks 2 boxes for us.
I guess you've got those training wheels, you're getting everything in motion, and it's a bit of, I guess, short-term pain for a long-term gain. It's that kind of a strategy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And on that note too, I guess it wouldn't be a chat around learning if we didn't talk around analytics and reporting. What impact have you seen from using EdApp, including maybe business ROI?
Yeah, so we haven't done a formal ROI yet. That's coming probably next month, I think Ange wants it from me. Better get on to that. But one of our big tipping points, so our medical inquiries process changed, and we used EdApp. We had an EdApp a workshop, and then an EdApp to follow up and consolidate. And ANZ are the only group who used EdApp. The rest of the world used another system. And so we rolled that out in March. By the end of April, we had a 95% sort of entering things in correctly, using the right system, ticking the right fields, blah, blah, blah. And the head of medical in Asia Pacific congratulated ANZ on a global conference call to say how brilliant our rollout was and how 95% was the best in the region. Round of applause to everyone. And the only thing that we did differently was using EdApp to communicate the process and the reason why it was changing and all that sort of thing. So just based on that project alone, I'd say we're doing well.
Fantastic to hear. And yeah, I think as Bryony had said, I think what short-term pain for long-term gain, I think that makes it all worth it in the end, with getting the launch and getting the team set up, taking the time to hold their hands and make sure that they're understanding how to use the platform and results like that. I think that's fantastic.
And that's what I mean when I say it's worth it, because you're getting the recognition, but also people are changing their behavior from what they were doing previously to now using the new system, and it's making their life easier. They're able to work more effectively, and you're getting the accolades. So it's win-win-win. Everyone's winning. It's great.
Awesome. I wonder if we should wrap up. Do we have any other questions in the Q&A?
Okay. I think we answered all the Q&As. Any other questions from the audience? I think we're pretty much all good to go.
I was wondering, Sophie, if you wanted to leave us with a final insight or piece of advice.
Use your subject matter experts. That's something that I've learned the hard way. You don't have to be the expert or the master of everything. You're just there as a guardian of the learning outcomes. That's your role to shape the learning outcomes. And if you use the expertise and the talent of your subject matter experts, then you don't have to be the expert. You can rely on them and pull them in when you need to. That's probably my
love that
tip.
Yeah, you're the guardian of your learning outcomes. Brilliant. We should get that framed. Amazing. Thank you so much for the chat today, Sophie. All of your insights. I'm sure it was really, well, I hope it was really valuable for everyone on the line. And we'll be posting the recording onto our YouTube channel. Have a lovely day, everyone. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you, Sophie. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thank you. I hope it was useful for everyone listening.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.